We're going to do something now when Jack Kerouac and I did the first ever jazz poetry readings in New York. Actually, I met him at a loft party in 1956, and he was wearing a black and red checkered shirt, like the boucheron. That's the French-Canadian axeman used to wear in the 19th century. And people whose folks or grandparents came from French Canada, and Jack's family did, wore those clothes not because Jack was a lumberjack, but out of honoring that wonderful cultural heritage. And he came up to me and he said, "Play with me." And he handed me a piece of paper, and then he took it back before I could even see what it was. And I had my horn and penny whistles. We were at a bring your own bottle party, which was the entertainment of that time. Usually the painters who had the most space, if they couldn't get an art show, which was 99% of everyone, would have their own art show by putting the pictures about 10 feet up so no one could spill drinks or hit them with cigarette butts. And then we would have singing, dancing, and everybody would come. And we were each other's entertainment complex packages of good cheer and joy. And I had just finished my gig with Charles Mingus and went up there, and he took the paper back, and I was playing, and I just got this incredible feeling of hearing somebody doing something. I had no idea what he was reading. It was just so beautiful. And then we ran off, and we kept bumping into each other, and finally became friends. And we used to do spontaneous things with him reading. Sometimes I would make up something, and he would play the piano. And we usually did that for hours until we were asked to knock it off or leave. But someone, Philip Lemaitre and Howard Hart, two wonderful poets, decided they wanted to have an official jazz poetry reading. And Jack and I called it music poetry, poetry music, because it wasn't just jazz, it was anything that was appropriate to the music that was already in the poem without any musicians playing. And they called it the Jazz Poetry Trio. I said, well, look, there's Howard, Philip, Jack, and myself. That's 4 people. That's not a trio. They said, well, if someone doesn't show up, we're still cool. So we were the Jazz Poetry Trio. First one was at the Brada Art Gallery, where about 30 people came in because it was raining. And then the word caught on, and we did someone circle in the square. There's the famous picture on the internet of all that, of that little poster. And this was one of the ones we used to do. It's kind of the history of jazz on one page, all the way from King Oliver, Louis Armstrong, up to, at that time, Charlie Parker, Monk, Lester Young, and everyone else. And the person who's going to read it is a young woman that I met when she was a teenager in Canada. Her mom used to bring her to the Mariposa Folk Festival to hear Steve Goodman, the great folk singer who wrote City of New Orleans, was a great friend, and also someone with a broad scope who loved jazz, symphony music, literature, poetry, and was an incredible songwriter. And now, of course, she does all her own work, and she's here with her daughter tonight, who's also, both of her daughters are really good, creative people too. So please welcome to read Children of the American Bop Night, a wonderful person from Canada now gracing our country, living in New Jersey, Linda Kraar.
I promise you, David, no polyesters were injured in the making of this coat. Well, should we just jump in? Children of the American Bop Night. Take it around one time. Once there was Louis Armstrong blowing his beautiful top in the muds of New Orleans. Before him, the mad musicians paraded on official days and broke up the Sousa marches into ragtime. And then there was swing and Roy Eldridge, vigorous and virile, blasting the horn for everything it had, in waves of power and logic and subtlety, leaning to it with glittering eyes and a lovely smile, and sending it out broadcast to rock the jazz world. Then had come Charlie Parker, a kid in his mother's woodshed in Kansas City, blowing his taped-up alto among the logs, practicing on rainy days, coming out to watch the old swingin' Basie and Benny Moten band that had Hot Lips Page and the rest. Charlie Parker leaving home and coming to Harlem and meeting mad Thelonius Monk and madder Gillespie. Charlie Parker in his early days, when he was flipped and walked around in a circle while playing. Somewhat younger than Lester Young, also from KC. That gloomy, saintly goof, in whom the history of jazz was wrapped. For when he held his horn high and horizontal from his mouth, he blew the greatest. As his hair grew longer, he got lazier and stretched out. And his horn came down halfway, till it finally fell all the way. And today, as he wears his thick-soled shoes so that he can't feel the sidewalks of life, his horn is held weakly against his chest, and he blows cool and easy get-out phrases. Here were the children of the American Bop Night.
Linda Kraar. That was worth a long trip down here just to hear that.